EJ, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is EJ Porth. I'm the Associate Director at the Gallatin Valley Land Trust.
Awesome. And so I wanted to talk to you today about the Gallatin growth policy. So I have a couple questions for you.
Okay.
So first of all, like, what is happening? What is this policy about?
Yes. So counties and cities all across the state have a policy document that sort of guides land use planning in the area. It's sort of a high-level document that is informed by the public and sets out the sort of values and priorities for how an area would be developed. So for example, when land converts from agriculture into residential, helps make sure that development is in line with community priorities and values. It's especially important in Gallatin County, where the policy is being updated right now because we're experiencing really, really high growth. And so this document will help determine sort of where growth happens, what kind of growth happens, and how we can protect the really special qualities that people here care about, like wildlife, clean water, clean air, agriculture, outdoor recreation, and things like that.
Cool. So what are some of the updates?
So I think the state actually mandates that it's updated every certain number of years. So we're at the point where we're looking at different demographic trends in the area since the last time it was created. So the consultants go through and update all of the population numbers, current trends and what's being developed, where land use has changed. And then there's a huge community input process where they ask the community about what they want to see. And I think updating the policy is important because it makes sure that the county is acting on behalf of how the community is feeling at that time.
Totally. So who would you say the stakeholders are in this policy?
Stakeholders is really everyone that lives in Gallatin County, and it's really diverse. So there are people, a lot of the policies pertain to agriculture. There's policies about transportation, there's policies about recreation and pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure, there's policies about wildlife, water, infrastructure. So really anyone that lives here, anyone that is interested in developing here, stakeholders would also include, partners and other agencies that have a vested interest in any of the natural resources in this area. So yeah, it's pretty localized though to Gallatin County.
Awesome. Is there a strategy with the land use policy?
From our perspective, as Gallatin Valley Land Trust, we are really concerned with making sure that the policy is protecting the conservation values that we care about. So that would be agricultural land, that would be water, that would be habitat, that would be trails. And so our job is to look at what we provided input at the very beginning, said these are the things that we believe are important on behalf of the people that support our organization and the work that we do. And then now we're in the process of reviewing the draft where they actually have specific policies proposed and sort of action items that they want to pursue to make sure that the tools that we use to do our work, like conservation easements and trails, are included and supported in this document so that we know that the work that we're doing is aligned with what the county's doing and that we're not, for example, the county growth policy right now, the draft, has a lot of policies about wanting to cluster new development near existing infrastructure and existing developments. And so what that says to us is that we should be protecting land that is outside of where development is already occurring. And so it allows us it informs in sort of a feedback loop of our strategic priorities for conservation to make sure that we're not conserving lands that are in a different strategy than what the county is wanting us to do. So part of it's just making sure that we're aligned with our strategies and making sure that the tools that we use are allowed and supported moving forward.
Cool. So I guess I would kind of go into how this policy is being implemented. If you're wanting to make sure it's aligned with the county, but also with your values as Gallatin Valley Land Trust.
Yep. So once the policy is approved by the county commissioners, We will cite that policy when we're applying to grants or when we're working on conservation easements. We apply for funding through a program that's administered by the county to fund conservation easements. And so what we'll be able to do is say, you know, this conservation project is in line with your Gallatin County growth policy in its, you know, natural resources that it wants to protect, and also your focus on conserving land that is away from existing infrastructure and existing developments. So yeah, it's once it's adopted, it's just a nice guiding document for us. And there's a number of policies in there that actually require the county to do some things. So the county has some priorities about pursuing zoning in certain areas of the county. That's not something that we would do, but there's a lot of implementation that the county then has to do once they adopt the policy. It's sort of like their almost like their work plan for their planning department for the next 5 to 10 years.
Cool. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been really fascinating.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye. Since moving to Bozeman, I've seen the sticker, cows not condos, everywhere. And I love that sticker. Like, of course, we want all this beautiful farmland that serves the agricultural needs of our community rather than condos. However, I think we should maybe reconsider a strategy that's condos for cows and focus on condensed housing that is more affordable and less abrasive to the environment to preserve this beautiful land and, of course, the cows. I really like Gallatin Valley's growth plan idea of clustering new development near old development. However, I don't think it's enough for the rate we're expanding. We are projected to almost double in size as a city in the next 10 years. And if our only plan is just to put the new housing near the old housing and the new developments near the old developments, we will very likely just sprawl throughout the entire valley. So we need to start building up, reconsider our 4-story limit, put in apartment buildings, put in condos, and really invest in public transportation. So instead of widening roads, put in a bus system that's really reliable, that people can depend on to get to work and to school. The whole point of a growth plan is to mitigate the consequences of not planning for growth, but if our only plan is just to put the new stuff near the old stuff, we don't really have a plan. So I really hope policymakers I hope policymakers are thinking right now about building up instead of out so we can preserve the beautiful environment we have here.